Start spreading the news.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
New York, I love you. I love New York.
Rose trying to get open, fires away. Bang! It's over! The Bulls win at the buzzer! Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James! LeBron James with the rejection. Puts up the three. Won't go. Rebound Bosh. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang!
What's going on, people? Welcome to episode 200 of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron, also the founder of the Off the Ball Network. But yeah, this is episode 200, and man, it has been a hell of a journey. You know, I started this podcast summer 19. Obviously, you know, I think I did my first episode talking about, you know, free agency 2019 with the New York Knicks and, you know, what to expect and all that. And then next few episodes weren't the most happy, because obviously during that time there was expectancy that maybe we're going to get Kevin Durant and Kyrie, and then maybe get the number one pick, Zion. So there were a lot of potential good things, and then it wound up being probably the worst off season I've had, you know, the franchise has had, and I've had as a fan. You know, that was a really dark time and all that. So to do podcast during that time wasn't fun, but, you know, I knew that I definitely wanted to do this. And, you know, I've been doing it for the last, you know, 4 years and all that. And to do the podcast a lot during the pandemic, especially. And that was interesting times. That was interesting times trying to find comments and all that, like, you know, my guy from Canada, you know, he notices all these little things and all that. But to do all that during the pandemic, figure out how to make this work with no live sports and all that, you know, was hard. But I figured it out and we made it work. And I was able to, you know, get the show rolling and find some good ideas, find some good content, find some good people, network, not be afraid to be told no. You know, reach out and make things happen. I remember my first episode was with Matt Babcock, and I remember reaching out and just saying, "Hey, man, can you come on the show?" and all that. He said yes, and I was like, "Whoa!" I wasn't expecting a yes. You know, like I said, I'm a nobody, and for him to say yes, you know, to come on and talk about his journey as an agent, and you know, his dad is a part of, you know, the Milwaukee Bucks, and kind of go a little bit behind the scenes of, you know, the Giannis situation, how they found him and all that was fun. And then kind of getting the ball rolling with that. We're doing a lot of mock drafts for the draft day, because that was the longest, you know, draft ever, you know, that. So we had so much time to really evaluate it, over evaluate it, you know, and we did a lot of cool online, you know, mock drafts and all that with a bunch of guys that you probably know, that you probably go to, you know, as far as content with the NBA draft, have them on. So that was a lot of fun doing all that stuff, and just, you know, being able to interview some of the former NBA All-Stars, and, you know, Kenny Anderson, you know, that was a lot of fun interviewing him and all that, talking about, you know, growing up in New York and playing for the Nets, and, you know, his journey being, you know, throughout the league and all that, talking to Charlie Ward, former Heisman Trophy winner, talking about, you know, not just his time as a New York Knick, but that Miami, you know, Florida State rivalry and all that, how intense that was. That was a lot of fun. I was being a Miami Hurricanes fan, talking to him on, you know, obviously he's on the other side of that, and talking about that rivalry and how intense it was, especially, you know, kind of why I became a fan of Miami, because that, you know, that rivalry was definitely a big reason why. Talking about that, and just having the countless people I've had on, be able to network with so many cool people in the draft space, and, you know, Emmy Award winners, you know, be able to, you know, all the Knicks content creators I've been able to interact with and network and have relationships with. Like, it's been really cool, you know, throughout this year. So it's just, you know, it's been a lot of fun to navigating through this space for these last years, and 200 episodes is really crazy. You know, I've done a lot more, you know, as far as football and whatever and all that, but officially 200 episodes of the podcast. You know, it's tough to even get past those first few, but to get to 200 is just really cool. So I'm very happy, and I'll have a couple people coming on throughout the show and all this to talk about some of their favorite moments, and we'll have Doc talk about some playoffs and all that. But I got one guy who's contributed to a lot to the show and all that. My guy Walker. Walker, what's up, brother?
Not much, man. Congratulations on 200. Just an incredible accomplishment. Been really fortunate to be a part of the journey, and have really enjoyed getting to, even when I'm not on here, just getting to watch and listen and kind of be a part from afar. So it's been a lot of fun. Congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We've had a lot of, I think some of our best conversations when you've been on it, not just on the podcast itself, but we've had conversations that probably lasted 2, 3, 4 hours after a 45-minute pod. We're talking because we're just talking hoop or whatever and all that, chopping it up or whatever. So we've had a lot of cool conversations and all that. But yeah, man, it's been to do 200 episodes, and obviously I've done more with all the other stuff we do, and been on countless other podcasts and all that. But to do 200, man, I didn't think, especially like I said, going into, because I started it summer 19, right before free agency, and that wasn't a good time, especially as a Knicks fan and all that. But then to go into the to continue to keep doing shows and stuff, and then the pandemic happens, and then there's not much to talk about, just to try to reinvent the wheel and all that and try to figure that out. It was challenging, but it's just been fun, because throughout the journey you just meet a lot of cool people and all that. And like I remember getting to know you through Chris Bolton, our guy Chris, and I had him on, and he's a Duke fan, and we talked. He's been on my show to do NBA draft stuff and all that, and just talk Duke basketball, and just talk basketball and journey. And he introduced me to you, and then we started to get to know each other, and you're big into the college space, so that was cool to talk a lot more college basketball and get into that. And I've learned a lot from you, just from your connections and all that. So it's been, like I said, man, it's been fun to just not just do podcasting, because a lot of people could do it, but just it's everything else that comes with it, with the networking, and be able to have relations with people that not just is just a one-off with a podcast. Like a lot of the people I've done podcasts, I still have interactions with. Like we talk, DM, whatever. Like it's just not a one-off thing where you're like, all right, a lot of the people I'm still talking to this day, 4.5 years later, we're still conversating, or I know I can hit them up, and if I need them to come on, or they want me to come on, it's like that. So that's been the best part of that, is that keeping those relationships and having forever relationship. I guess it's been really cool to have that, especially during that time, the pandemic. It wasn't easy to obviously do live shows with people, so to be able to find other ways has been really cool, man. But yeah,
some of our best podcasts have been actually after we recorded podcasts.
Yeah, so I'm saying, like, we've had 2-3 hour conversation, and we're just talking about ball. We just whatever's like, yo, what'd you hear about this? What'd you hear about that? So it's definitely and that's what a lot of people like. Some of our best conversations are not just on the shows, but it's in our our chat room is if it gets leaked, but we just have a lot of fun and all. And another contributor to this this journey to episode 200 is my guy Mo. What's up, brother?
Bro, is this excuse me, is this your 200th episode, or is it Walker's 200th episode? Because everything you said, Walker should have said the other way around. So who's
I did say it, though. You were not here. I did say it. It was the first thing I said.
No, I saw it. I was watching.
I'm saying,
make sure I didn't miss it. I'm just saying, whose episode is this? Jesus.
Yeah, man,
no, but congratulations, bro. Man, what it's been since day one. Like, I mean, you said everything on episode 100 of mine. I mean, there's I don't even know what to say, man. Congratulations, bro.
Yeah, no, it's like, I appreciate that. Like I said, and you've been a big part. You've been on the show. Can't even count how many times you've been on the show, and just I guess, like I mentioned before, just the networking and relationship. Like, just I don't even know how we even really got together and all that, but like, it probably was a conversation on Twitter, and we just started talking. I was like, oh yeah, he's cool and all that, and we did a couple shows together and all that, and then it became just a brotherhood and all that since then and all that. But like I said, to be able to do 200 episodes, and like I said, figuring out how to go about it, with the pandemic that happened, and just trying to figure out but we made it work, and like I said, we've been able to do some really cool things and all that, and it's been dope, man. 200 episodes is not an easy thing to do, like especially with life that happens and all that, and to be able to do 200 episodes. I mean, they say to get past the first few is, it is. We could just go on Apple and see how many people just do a couple episodes and they haven't done the podcast in 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, and so able to do 200 and, like I said, be relatively consistent and to keep those relationships with a lot of the people I podcast with. It's not like I mentioned to Walker, it's not just doing an episode and just being a one-off. It's be able to know I can get that person. I've gotten that person on a lot of the people on my show 2, 3, whatever amount of times. It's not just a one-off, and have those relationships consistently and being like, all right, if I need them to come on, I can hit them up, or vice versa. If they need me on there, whatever, or just to have really consistent relationship where it's all love. So that's been the best part about doing the podcast and all that, and helping people out too, man. That's been fun, man. Like, to be able to help people out, throughout this journey too. Everybody, it could be I'd see a lot of people try to make this competitive, and there's some parts of it that is competitive. You want to have a good show because you want to be able to broaden your audience and all that. But I always find it the best part about this also was helping people out, not being selfish and all that, helping other people out, trying to, give them little tidbits. I'm not saying I'm big time and all that by any means, but like if anybody has reached out to me and said, is this good and all that, it's been like, for instance, I'll mention the Hoopers. We know how great the Hoopers are now, right? I remember when we first started doing this and they reached out and I said, they wanted some tidbits on, how they'll go about their stuff, and gave them that. And they came back, they worked on their craft, and it was like, all right, yeah, y'all definitely going to be part of the group and all that. And it's been all love since there. So it's been fun, man. 200 episodes is cool. Like I said, we got a brotherhood that's bigger than anything and all that. And I'll invite one more, my fellow north of the border buddy, Kenneth Cotterell, to the podcast. What's up, Kenny?
Are we buddies still? I just had to double check.
Oh yeah, we're cool. It's all love.
No, I wanted to hop on. Obviously, huge congratulations on 200. I went back and looked just to see when I first made an appearance. And Chris, I'm sure you remember it. We did we redrafted the 2012 NBA draft, and it was peak terrible podcasting, only because
it really was, right?
There was no arguments whatsoever. Chris and I hadn't met each other. I think we had just kind of through social media, and we went through, and our list was the exact same. There was nothing different about it. There was no arguments about it. It was just like, oh yeah, that's what I had. Okay, well, who do you have third? Well, I had this guy. Oh, so did I. Okay, well, this is a great episode.
This is great, yeah. Oh,
that was basically all that it was. So
you're on Duke. You're a Duke fan. Oh yeah, me too. Cool. And but it's crazy. Like I listened to some of like my early episodes, and I'm like, not that I cringe, but I'm like, damn. They're a little rough and all that, but one thing that I've been able to obviously learn from is just just listen to other people's and just take criticism, because some people don't like constructive criticism. They take that offensive, and I maybe younger me would have and just be like, all right, I'm never doing this again. But I took that to heart, and I said, okay, if I really want to get better at this, and I already I'm kind of going on a little bit. I got a little hot streak right now. I got to be able to take those criticisms and apply them and get better and all that. And I felt like, ever since that first year, right before the pandemic, I would say I definitely took those and fixed a lot of things I need to get fixed, and definitely got better as a pod. And I think, and like I mentioned before, like it's good having a nice team around you too, because we all can help each other. because there's some things you're better, like you could be better at than I am, and then with anyone and with our little group, that we're all, some guys are better at than the other, and we all kind of help each other out. And we could say this about all our podcasts, right? I think we all are a lot better at the podcasting, at the podcasting thing than we were, when we all probably started around that time and all that. So yeah, those shows, especially when there's no banter back, it's like, oh yeah, I would have drafted that guy with that. Yeah, oh yeah. And then it's just like, all right, this is over. We did 25 minutes, and you're like, all right. And then like you look back, you're like, oh, we should have just had a little bit more. But it's comfortability too, right? We didn't really know each other like that. It was kind of like, I just come on the show and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But now, like, obviously we know each other, we're comfortable with each other. We can do a little bit, we could do a lot more stuff and be more creative and know how to, go back at each other.
I think what people don't understand too is 200 episodes is obviously a major milestone, but it's all the hours that you have to put in after that, after you're done recording, right? Like, you look at all these we're obviously now in kind of a new era of podcasting. You've got all the former players that are podcasters and whatnot, but they've got teams behind them, right? They've got social media guys. They've got people clipping everything up. Like, there's a reason why their following grows as quickly as it does. And with podcasters like us, like, we don't have that backing. Like, everything that we do is based off of our own individual efforts, right? So when it comes to putting out graphics and getting backgrounds and getting all your banners set up and all that stuff, like, it's very time consuming. And it's certainly just, that's what people don't understand is, 200 episodes probably means 200 hours of recording podcast episodes, if not longer. But it's the thousands of hours afterwards or before setting up your guests and getting all that stuff lined up. That takes a lot of time, and all the networking that goes into it. Like, you're not going to grow your social media channels unless you're reaching out to people and you're building connections. And that's why, as you said, you have that brotherhood now at OTVN, because we are interacting with each other's stuff, even if it's Chris saying that he doesn't want to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like, that's just,
I resubbed.
Appreciate that.
You would have gained my subscription if I wasn't already subscribed off.
Yeah, go subscribe.
I got to keep reiterating.
Like, if I'm gonna hop on the show, like, I'm gonna self-promote while I'm here. So
I got to keep reiterating that. I wish I wasn't subscribed to Ken as of last night, because it would have had the effect of, you gained my subscription off of that one. Like, I ain't been inconsistent. Just press subscribe on my channel. If some random tweets that, they get my subscription every time. So if everybody wants subscriptions from me, just post that. I'm subscribing.
Yeah. Shout out to Stephen Gillespie. He was a big part of the network early on. We did a lot of great work. I remember him just hitting me up on the email and being like, "Hey man, we'd love to have you on my show," and all that. And we've done a lot of cool stuff together, and still at it, to this day. So appreciate you, Stephen, for all the help you've, especially with organizing. He's one of the more organized people that I've ever
met in my life.
Man.
Like, as a man, that boy Stephen meticulous. He ain't changed either. Because that meant, backwards cap if you wearing it, got the pen in the hand, got the notebook, like, you know what I'm saying? So he was definitely beginning, but he's still doing his thing. Same way, man. Stephen ain't changed, man. Just elevated. He ain't changed, he just elevated. I love to see it though. I watch their shows. He got the cap backwards, got this pen, ready to click it, take some notes, man. That's Stephen all day.
Yeah. He's definitely helped me be better organized at stuff and all that. So, and he's done some pretty cool stuff and still doing great things and all that. So, appreciate you, Stephen, for being part of this journey and all that. But, man, we've had a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun topics we've had on the podcast, and like Ken, for instance, like I mentioned, like we're able to get JJ Redick on your pod, like just by simply like just interacting and just like, hey, JJ, go on. And then I remember that moment like it's yesterday. Like, I remember I was going to sleep because it was late. I don't know if it was that late, but I know I was tired. I remember going to sleep and my phone kept buzz, 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 buzz. I'm like, yo, what's going on? What's my phone buzzing? And I just see JJ Redick has just replied, and I'm like, whoa. I'm like, and then you hit me up, yo, he just hit me up. I'm getting him on the pod. I was like, no way. And I even forgot that we even like. I forgot. I think he was doing Q&A, something. Well, I forgot exactly what he was doing, but I just said, yeah. And I remember adding him or whatever and just putting the phone down, thinking nothing of it, and just being, and then it turned into, now you have JJ Redick, your favorite player. You have him on your wall right there, his jersey, and you have him on your podcast. Like, and then
I don't know how Ken ain't quit after that.
Probably going to be like my next head coach too of my organization.
And it could be the head coach.
Yeah,
of your favorite basketball
you got a
team.
Redick jersey, you got a Lakers a Kobe jersey. Redick about to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. What a world we live in. If I was Ken though, and I got my favorite player on, like if you telling me I would have got like Dwayne Wade early on or LeBron or like Terrell Owens, I probably would have quit. I'd have been like, my journey's complete, bro. I got to have a conversation recorded that's out there for the world to talk to my favorite player. I'd be like, man, I don't need to do anything else after that. I wouldn't even try to make it. I'd be like, I'm done. I got to talk to D-Wade
now that you're a
LeBron.
Mavs fan, you can get your favorite Mavs player, JJ Barrera, on, possibly.
Well, and I think something that gets lost in the shuffle of all that too was like getting JJ on was huge. I probably was gonna quit podcasting had I not got him on, because I was on the heels of, I was in discussions with getting Ben Gordon on the show, and multiple times had him like, yeah, like I'll be good tomorrow morning, like send me the link, and then he no-showed, and I'm like, damn, man, like is this really what it's like? Like I'm never gonna get a big interview. Like it's just gonna be me and my buddies. And so yeah, I was pretty close to quitting it at that point, and that was right around COVID too, like right in the heart of it. So there was a lot kind of going on then. So huge shout out to you, Chris, for doing that. I'm always appreciative of that, even if I don't show it in the group chat very often.
Yeah, you owe me your podcasting royalties for that.
I can tell you, there's not much.
but it's something as simple as, and I was taught this, as I started to like deep dive and like really wanted to get better as a podcaster. I think, and I mentioned this before, being told no can be like disheartening. And we've all been there where we try to reach out to people to come on, and we either get left on red or no emails sent back or whatever, no response at all. And I was told, hey, just do it. Send the email. Even if you think you're going to get a no, just send it out. You just never know. Like keep doing it, because you're going to get rejected a lot, especially early in the process. Just go for it. Just try it. And that's when I was just like, hey, let's at JJ Redick or whatever. And then it led to him getting, and I've done that countless times where I just or send emails. And I've had stuff where Bernie on, I've DM'd people and I got left on red. And then as I started maturing and getting better as a podcaster and getting more notoriety, I had those people reach out to me and be like, yo, can I come on the pod? And it's crazy how it goes.
I would have told them, listen, I'm going to tell you this now. Because I'm even going through it right now. Doing this Believe in Math. You leave me on red, don't double back when you see I'm big enough. I'm telling you, that I'm never going to leave people on red. Just tell somebody no. That leaving on red, especially like for people like, my thing is this, all of us started from nothing. And like we were trash in the beginning, all that,
Trash.
But it's like you leave like
understatement, trash.
But you're on episode 200. Ken kept going, had JJ Redick. We could keep going about what Ken did. Walker with doing Field Stormers, being a reliable guest on everybody's show. Like Walker was at one point, he was the one dude. Hey, if I can't find a guest, I got Walker. Like you hit Walker up, Walker gonna jump on there. So now it's like pause. Yeah. But like I never leave people crazy. On red for the simple fact, bro. You might actually stop somebody like a Chris LeBron, a Kenneth Cotterill, a Mo Murphy, or Walker Bailey from continuing the journey because they're like, bro, you left me on red. Just say no. Like you can say no and move on. Mm-hmm. I just don't understand the leaving people on red thing. And then if you try and double back, for me, nah, don't double back. If I ask you when I ask you and you see like, nah, or let me know like, nah, bro, you're not big enough, but you keep putting in the work and I get on when you keep putting in the work, that's respectable. But just to leave on red and then like Off the Ball podcast is, man, they be getting like, man, they got 500 people watching the live. You know what? Let me get on. Nah, bro, it's too late. I messaged you 3 months ago. You left me on red. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, that can really like, and I'll have people like, young kids, they'll hit me up. They're like, how do you overcome that? I said, you just got to keep going, bro. You can't let that affect you because too many people let that affect. And like I said, I'm the type of person, I'm a natural introvert. That a lot of those times it killed me. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. but I just said, you know what, what it is, and just keep letting it go and just keep rocking. But it's crazy how like we have like when we had Steven, we got a guy from Arkansas, Walker's from Mississippi, Mo's from Florida,
Everywhere.
Ken is all the way up in Canada and all that. I'm from New York. We got people, we got people from California. We got people from Utah. We got people from Wisconsin.
Georgia.
We've had people from different countries be a part of like what we'd be able to build and seeing people grow. And be able to-
Don't worry, we dodged a bullet with that one, so you're all good, bro.
And listen, we've had some hits. We've had some draft, some bust. We had we've had some people who did not live up to expectations. But hey, and that we had.
Hey, Chris, you can't. Hey, you know what? You've elevated. Who's the biggest bust you've hired off the bottom? Tell us on episode 200.
Oh man,
Chris LeBron. If you can't answer the question, who the biggest bust that you ever had at OTB? That's not doing good. I hope they watching.
When's the last time you saw Edgar? I'm sorry, man.
There it is. There it is. All right, I'm done. I should have never asked. My fault. I'm sorry. I'm done.
All I
This
know
is
is
celebration,
Walker,
bro. My fault.
Walker's
You can always count on me to be the one to say it.
Walker.
My bad.
The amount of times people have hit me up because of Walker Bailey, the paragraphs I have gotten,
Man.
the bust that
Man.
Steven, we've had some, and you've been Steven's always a part of the recruiting process. We've had some people that we thought we thought they were talented, or not that they weren't talented, but of all that. So that's
You at
that's
McDonald's or
well, yeah, we've
you
had
at your
some
house?
interesting things.
Are you at
I know, I got
McDonald's or are you
McDonald's
at your
Wi-Fi,
house?
yeah.
That Wi-Fi.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
you used to get on.
I got too many.
Episode 200, and you can't catch yourself some wired internet.
I got too many things on Wi-Fi. That's why there we go. Let's take some stuff off. But yeah, we've had a lot of. But like I said, we've had people from all over the country and all that, and be able to still, to get along. That's tough and all that.
I mean, if you want to say we've gotten along, then sure.
To an extent. We've had some. Like I said, the group chat. If we've had some interesting stuff.
That's every. You know what's crazy though? That's every male group chat. Like a group chat with all men, we all can walk away and say, "Man, if this ever get leaked, we all in trouble." Like that's every group chat,
Especially
whether
with
it's
Mo.
the network chat, whether it's the group chat with your homeboys. Like, hey, this group chat ever get leaked? Oh, I'm in trouble. I know. I be having to delete my old tweets. I'll be right back.
Oh yeah. I've had some. I've had some tweets I've had to delete and all that, even early in the process. And because I created a separate off the ball pot. Some things I tweeted out. Speaking of McDonald's Wi-Fi, he keeps hopping in and out and all that. But
I've done a really good job at steering away from controversial things in the group chat.
You've been better.
Gotten better.
You've gotten better and all that.
Oh, good.
But we've had fun though. Like it's been fun and all that.
Like 48 hours after I popped off about Kyrie in the basketball group chat because I was at 9 for 23. I was so angry. I don't know why I was so angry. I don't know what I had going on. I was so mad, and I had no reason to be mad because I don't even dislike Kyrie like that. Like, I don't even have a problem.
I was getting the side messages.
The other group chat, Stu would have come in and
he would have misspelled Kyrie.
I know, and like 10 other words.
Kyrie.
He would have put 2 E's at the end instead of IE. Stu would have done something and all that. But yeah, man, it's we've had a lot of fun and all that throughout the years. We have some interesting topics and all that, but it's been all fun. It's been, like I said, we've done countless shows and all that, and like I said, we're all from different backgrounds and all that, and somehow we somehow get along. We all, you got like I said, Walker, you're from Mississippi. Like a Mississippi and a New Yorker, really, you don't see, and a Canadian, like that's like polar. There's 3 opposites, and we've done how many shows as a trio together?
And lots of Californians too. Like we survived.
We got Californians in there. We got you know, Hispanics, whites. We got, you know, mixed. We got a whole bunch of different types of people and cultures and personalities and all that, and still able to make it work and all that, you know, with the network. And but it's been fun. It's been fun, and like I said, I've been able to do cool stuff as far as like interviews with like prospects. You know, when I was doing that a lot in 2020 and 2021, having a lot of prospect draft shows I did, like to have. I mean, some of the people that a lot of people go to for draft stuff, I had them on the show before they were even big. We would do the 4 or 5 people mock drafts and all that, and you know, I'm still mad that I had Killian Hayes as my number 1 prospect. You know, that's my low light. I did anything there was 2. It's not like I had him like 7th. I just have, I don't know. For some reason, that was the first year I was doing like real, like getting involved with the draft. And there was a few people that like for some reason they were on the Killian Hayes kick, and I fell in it. That was my.
That happens with like every sport. So like, there's just guys that we like and that we're gonna stand by until, quite frankly, they get released. Like, you're just hopeful that
and they never play. You're
just hopeful, like, man, if he gets in there and he gives them 8 quality minutes, like he might get up to 12 by next week. Like,
the amount of times like Killian Hayes went on like a little run like last year where he was playing like really good basketball, and I was like, is this it?
Starting to turn the corner.
I was like, he's turning the corner. Let's go. And then this year happened, and like he was starting, and I'm like, I don't really score like, you know, scoreboard or a stat, you know, watch, you know, with other teams. I really don't care. But like I was watching like the Detroit Pistons, you know, stat sheets, and being like, all right, I know he started. He only played 9 minutes, 0 for 7, 5 turnovers. Oh God, Killian. Then he'll have like an 8-point game where he has like 6 assists, 2 steals. I'm like,
starting to turn the corner.
I'm like, yep. I'll do the tweet, Killian Hayes. Here we go, and it's 4 games of him going 0 of 7 and all that, and it's just like, I have one thing I want to share. I look back a lot of like I had bad episodes as far as just like not constructing stuff, but like actually having a bad guest. I don't have a lot of bad guests, but I will share this one. I haven't really shared this on a show or anything, but this is when we were doing I was having prospects on. I forgot the dude's name, and he's definitely not listening, so it doesn't really matter. But he went to Texas. This was probably a few years ago. I set it up with his agent at the podcast, and his agent had set me up with a few clients. So I was like, all right, should we go? Well, he's like, he's going to do a workout he was doing a workout with the Nets, I think. And I was like, cool. Like, yeah, I was like, I don't need that much time, 25 minutes, a half. And so I prepared the show as if it was a half-hour show. That's what I was going to get. 25. I was preparing. I send the link. I'm getting ready. I just got out of work, so I'm ready. We timed it perfectly. Got home in time. Set up everything. Boom, boom, boom. We're ready to go. Send the link. Okay. He's late. That's fine. You told me he has a workout. Maybe the workout went a little bit later. Yeah. I'm cool with that. I understand the circumstance. I'm not tripping. Gives me a little bit more time to make sure everything is, you know, sound check, blah, 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 all that. So I get him on, and he's in his car, and he's just slouching. All right, you just got to work out. I'm cool. All right. Like I said, I'm cool. I'm staying cool. I'm trying to be a professional. All that. I'm just giving, hey, man, you know, blah, blah, blah. I was getting 1-word answers.
Yeah.
So we start off, and I had this was going to be this own episode because it was a half hour. I was like, yeah, this is going to come out good. This can actually maybe help him get maybe people to know about him and this prospect, because he was kind of, I forgot that's how you know it was bad. I forgot the guy's name. But I know he went to Texas. And I'm just asking, man, yeah, so, you know, blah, 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 just want to talk about, yeah. All right. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to read too much into that. And then we go off, and I'm just asking him about, you know, like, hey, man, so when was the first time? Yeah, when I was 13, I started playing.
Really?
Okay. Appreciate that. All right, can we elaborate a little bit more? Like, can you give me something? And he kept doing that. Like, so yeah, man. I was like, so, and if I ever release this, maybe I'll show you guys if I still have it. It might be on my other computer, but you could see my face, and I am mortified. I'm pissed. I'm pissed. You could see it, and I show if you know I'm mad, I may not just tell you that I'm mad, but you can read it. Like I'm one of those people you can read it. Like I bring off the energy, you can read it. You could tell I'm pissed.
It's just
pissed.
Give you something, right?
It's just everything's one word answer. I don't expect too much back and forth and all that, like a little bit, but like I started and I was like,
when I was doing the prospects thing too, like the first one that I had on, great guest, like I think it was probably 15, 20 minutes, like probably could have had a few more questions, but like the guy's giving me something, like, like, okay, appreciate it, like appreciate your time. And then I'm like, man, this is really good. And then the second one that I had, same thing. I thought I had a half hour worth of stuff. I think it was 10 minutes. Everything was one word answers. And I was like,
sucks. It's the worst feeling. Because I planned it as a half-hour episode, and when like you said, I put a lot of time into that episode, like, and all the draft stuff I was doing with the prospects, putting a lot of time, and everyone I've had a good interact. And there's some of those guys I still talk to this day, but this one, it just was one word, and you could see it in my. I'm just like, yeah, and then I cut it off after it was like 8 minutes. I cut it off, and that was it. And I wound up adding it to like another episode that I done, like just put it in, like but. I didn't air that on YouTube and all that. I had planned to do, like we always do, put it on video, audio. No, that was just a little segment in the next episode I did, and that was it. And like I said, I've never had a bad guest. I've had guests that maybe not, but as I got the show going, they got more, animated. They started getting more comfortable, and that's always been how I do, especially with the prospects. Sometimes they, they're soft spoken, but this one, and usually work, but this one, man. It was bad. It was not good, and I was so pissed because a half-hour show that I said that we had made work with his agent. I talked to his agent. Now all I got to do is him. It was his agent, to help him out, his profile. Get people to get to know him more, because it's actually crazy how I had some prospect on and actually helped their profile. More people got to notice them, and they got to some of these those channels where they do mixtapes and all that. I was able to send them that, and then they got their more eyeballs and all. But this one, man, that was bad. So like I said, not a lot of bad pod guys I've had on my show, but that'll always stick out to me, because I was like, this is trash. I'm not putting this out.
Chris, that's also a testament to like getting to 200. Like you're gonna have those episodes. And you're gonna have episodes where you think that you killed it, and then you go and look at the download numbers, and you're like,
that's another thing too. Yeah.
And that can just discourage you. You can go from like the highest of high to just maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore. Like clearly it's not resonating. Like the mentals of like number watching, right? And so when you have a bad interview like that, and that you put all this time into it, and then the guy shows up and gives you one word answers, you're like, damn, man. Like
I gotta see if I have the notes to this.
Like this sucks having to go through this, and so. No, I mean, it's a testament to getting to 200, because you are going to have those times where you have a bad guest or a guest that's just giving you nothing, and you kind of have to make the most of it. So
yeah, and I think sometimes the numbers watching is something that a lot of people get. Another thing that people get really, irritated about, or like, oh man, I only got 7 downloads and all. And I said it's a waiting process. Sometimes. If you have a show that's kind of evergreen too, that's kind of like you can listen to whenever, sometimes you got to let that just marinate. Like you might not get the numbers in the first few days. And I've done it where I looked at the stats. I'm like, really? That's it? And then a week or two later, you're at like triple digits, and you're like, all right, you got to be patient. And patience is the number one thing in podcasts. Is if you're not patient and you're expecting to get, NBA podcaster numbers right away, it's just not going to happen, especially with us. We're not NBA podcasters, so we have to kind of be more creative if we want to get those listens and all that. And I'll see, I have it right here. What's his name? Oh shoot. I have the notes, because I have so many books that I just have got like here's my book. I have our podcast. I have it written down when we did our podcast too, Ken.
The 2012 draft one?
Yeah. I have our notes from that. Like I said, I still have all my books from what's
Well, that's what's funny. We would classify the first episode that we did as like a bad podcast. But then if we hadn't stayed in touch and hadn't done more shows, then we wouldn't have got the better content like years down the road. Because I think I hopped on and then I wasn't on your show again for probably 6 months or a year. But by the time I did, that was post JJ, that was post a lot of other stuff. And like, you just get better as a podcaster. And I mean, like, we all have gotten better. Like Walker, I mean, even I remember him being on one of my first shows and like, I didn't know if I was going to like Walker. There was a little while there where he and I had like a lot of back and forth. And I was probably one of those people that sent Chris a DM that was just like, man, Walker's pissing me off. Like, I can't deal with this
I give
guy.
you credit for admitting it, though. I give you credit for admitting it.
But I mean, it eventually got to a point where now Walker's like one of my favorite guys to have on the show. Like, because I know who Walker is, and I know that we're going to irritate the shit out of each other.
But you know what, Walker?
That's
Okay. So I know a lot of people have, they're like, like I said, I had people reach me out, Walker, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, I see it. I see behind all that. I see something. There's something. I like him. I don't know why I like him. It doesn't make sense. A guy from New York, it doesn't. I'm like, but I don't know. He's just, he can irritate some people, but he's got
a different perspective.
He's young. He's a young, what do they call the young people now? What are their, not millennials, Gen Z? He's a Gen Zer. That's okay. We need a couple Gen Zers in the network. We had too many millennials and, it's like, but I just like, I trust him. He's good. And then when we had gaps where people weren't doing shows, he would go on and do and do it by himself. He's know what he's talking about. He's knowledgeable. And you're like, I told you. And then he's able to do stuff with Mo and Ken, do the betting stuff with you, Ken, and hop on, talk college basketball, talk college football, talk about some of the behind the scenes stuff that we don't maybe know about. Maybe he has more knowledge about. And he told me Mario was coming into Miami. Before that was even like a thing. He's like, yeah, he's going to Miami. He's still here. So like he's done good work and all that. So like we've been able to tolerate him and all that.
It's so now, like, because it's been probably like 2.5, 3 years, I guess, now at this point. Like coming in the way I came in, where like immediately jump in the group chat and it's immediately like, hey man, like screw you, like. And I mean, like, probably didn't come in the best way, but I think just once I think a lot of that too is like anytime you're doing something you haven't done before and you come in for the first time, like whether we admitted it or not, like you start it and there's a little bit of anxiety, like a little bit of nerves, like, and you're just kind of like, okay, like we'll see. Like I'm going into a place where people have done this thing for a long time and have success, and I've never done this before. So I think coming in, there was a little bit of like almost like pressure, like almost like we've had other people at the network talk about it too, like this weird pressure to like prove that you belong amongst everybody else. And like once you get past that and you just kind of figure out it doesn't matter and you're just very much comfortable with whatever you are, like that's when you kind of like settle in, you just kind of do your thing, you find your niche and just try to excel in it. Like I remember some of those, like that first summer, I remember Chris and I doing 2 player interviews, one of which is already gone through the draft process and is in the G League now, and another one who is actually a part of this upcoming draft class. And those literally never aired because I remember signing off and like they were so bad. Like, and a lot of it was not them. It was us. Like, because it was just still so new and like you jump in right away and like you really haven't found your footing. And then you're already kind of like just through connections talking to dudes or whatever. And you're just like, oh my God, man, like this was not good. Like not good at all. And some of that was like vision stuff and some of that was just execution. And like now having been in for a while, it's just like you just get so much more comfortable. Like you just kind of learn that like, okay, look, like just going on here, gonna talk ball, and that's kind of is what it is. And like you get into prospect interviews and stuff like that, and you're really just talking ball. Like it kind of just dumbs down to that as much as it seems silly. Like, like it's just kind of funny looking back on the whole journey, and like it's kind of funny how like achievements of other people, like 200 episodes, kind of make you reflect both on the network's journey and just your own journeys in a lot of different ways. And it's just funny looking back on that first summer, because like Chris and I's show really never took off because Chris ended up having a job change and like a lot of different things in his life.
Walker was the throw-in in the deal. Walker was the player to be named later.
Was the player to be named later, and so like Chris had a lot of stuff going on where he ended up moving to Kentucky, and now he's covering Kentucky and doing all sorts of stuff, and he's around that program all the time or whatever, and and so once things kind of upended, like it was like having to find my own way. Well, shit, now I don't have a show. Like, I mean, do I provide value anywhere here? And like trying to just prove that you belong. And then Mo and I kind of, started Field Stormers, and that's had a lot of success or whatever. And we're really excited to get that back going. And you kind of just find your niche and find what works. And it's kind of funny how other people's achievements make you reflect on just everybody's thing. Cause and Ken's kind of the same way in a lot of ways. Like, he had shooters and then he kind of switched and went to hedge, and then shooters kind of came back. It's just funny how like achievements like this, where like he kind of stayed committed, saw it through, and really got to 200 episodes. And sometimes it makes you think about just other people's stuff and your own stuff and like that, that's what makes 200 episodes so incredible. It's because not a lot of people see that. Not a lot of people get to that point. Mm-hmm. So it makes you just really happy. I'm incredibly happy that we're here at this point doing this thing, because I don't think I made it 10 episodes with Chris before that show was in the ground. Yeah. So, and Mo and I even still like kind of working through what we've worked through. We're probably like not even 50. So, I mean, it just takes so much commitment. So,
and that's what I had to do, is really especially because I remember I started off, I was at a network, and it was a relatively high profile, like indie network. And I remember I was their top content creator, but I would never get any recognition. I was never promoted heavily and all that. And I remember like they got mad at me because I was just doing self-promotion. And I'm like, well, you guys aren't promoting me, so I'm obviously going to promote my show. And that's when I was on a roll. I was getting a bunch of like these, the draft guys and all that. I was doing a bunch of the shows with the prospects. And then they I remember because we had like a Slack, the Slack thing and all that we had another a website, login like we have with the network, and I got like shut out. I couldn't even log in. I was like, all right. And then they would, not to like brag, but they wound up going under not too long after that, after we started off the Ball Network and all that. So, maybe if they had listened to me, maybe they wouldn't have been the defunct and all that. But then it led to me saying, all right, let's start the network. Let's do a network. And if we're going to do it right. And like I said, Mo and Jeff, Jeff's been a big part of it. Jeff was my first fan. I remember some guy from Ohio with Ohio State hat and Chicago Bulls jersey would constantly, when I post a show in Facebook, he always say, oh, this is a great episode. I'm like, hold up. Someone other than my mom is saying great show. I'm sure my mom does not even know what I'm even talking about on the podcast. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I remember just saying, oh, thanks. Appreciate all that. So got to give a shout out to Jeff and all that. But it's just the consistency and just being able to change too. Cause it's one thing to just talk about basketball, the NBA playoffs and all, but be able to switch it up. And like I did with Ken, do some redraft shows, do some player profile shows, do interviews with high school kids and college kids and, Emmy Award winners I've had on former, doing stuff that's we're not just talking about what happened in game 4 of the, in the bubble, we're talking about, other stuff and being creative and all that. And that's kind of how the show has been able to stay put and how I got to 200, because, just to be able to learn and adapt and all that. But like I said before, just learning from other people and taking little bits and pieces from other podcasters and all that. And like I said, it's been a fun ride, man. And so I appreciate everyone, who's been a part of this journey, 200 episodes. It's been really cool. Like I said, we got people from all over the country that we all interact with and all that. And like I said, everyone's been able to help each other and all that. And so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun, man. So hopefully I can get to another 100 episodes and all that. And
you've got at least
more
and more before the draft. So
Yeah, I gotta look because I got a new podcast now that I'm starting, and branching off, doing draft. And I'm sure I'll get you on there. We'll talk about your Spurs. You got two top picks and all that. It's been cool, man. It's been a lot of fun. And like I said, meeting, not just networking and getting guys to help me create content and all that, but creating friendships that are forever. Like we've created a brotherhood and all that where we can joke with each other and all that, but we know when we go on air, we can have good conversations and people enjoy those conversations. They enjoy our banter. They enjoy our little, dabs at each other, but we know we always going to provide good, solid quality content. And that's the one thing I'm proud of is that we all been able to improve since we started and really elevate and do some really cool things. I think we all have done pretty cool things and all that and really elevated each other and gotten to a point where, we're respected, in our little communities and that. So that's also another cool thing.
Yeah, no doubt. Yep, you'll find out soon. But Hoopers and I are going to do some stuff together, I think, in the next month or two. So
we got Mississippi and Atlanta.
We're going to be talking about it. Like we're going to be talking about an HBO TV series. We're not even talking about basketball. Who saw that coming? Like
exactly. Yeah. But that's the thing, man. We bring in things like with Kev, me and Kev from 11. I remember, he just hit me up and said, "Yo, I like your work and all that." I said, "Bro, I've been seeing you from afar, and you really know your hoop thing is like, I definitely we should do a podcast. I know you're knowledgeable. I'd love to host and kind of make you like, the main guy, and then we can, just talk college hoops. And we've been doing that. Get a Bucket has definitely, been solid and all that. So, shout out to Kev, all that. But, like we're bringing people together. See, we got Hoopers and Walker doing some stuff. We got a lot of things going, and we're going to continue to have a lot of things and all that. But it's been a fun ride these last 4 years to doing this podcast and that branching off to other things that we able to do and all that. But it's been a lot of fun, fellas. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I'm just glad I got to be here today, man. Like my schedule is so crazy now. I'm just glad that when you put it out a few days ago that 200 was happening, I was like, God, let it fall on Sunday. Let it fall on Sunday so I can pull up and be there, man.
Yeah. So today I'm because I was away. I went to my mom's house because for the Memorial Day weekend and went there. And I said, I'm gonna be back Sunday. Let me do Sunday because then during the work week, it's gonna get a little hectic. I don't know when I'm gonna get off work and all that. And if I get off, I'm too tired. It's like, you know what, Sunday works. I'm gonna get back to my house relatively early. And so let's just make it happen Sunday. So it worked out. It worked out. So are there any moments you remember from the podcast? Anything? It doesn't even have to be strictly mine, but like just in general with whenever we all get together, like, is there any moment? I know my favorite moment is, I think you guys know my favorite moment. My favorite moment will always be when we were talking about the Cowboys when they just lost.
I was going to say that has to be your top one.
That's against Tampa Bay.
While Mo is talking and I'm going like, yeah.
Mo's trying to be serious and like discuss, and I'm just like, me and Cruz are just like, you just let this man play center get absolutely. He got bull rushed. This is like if you're playing Madden and you just keep tapping X and just the bull rush and you got it. And it was just it was his last play as a Cowboy at the moment. Now he's back. But that'll always be my favorite.
I guess it's not an individual, but some of my collective favorites, man, are like going on like just during football season when we do the big shows or whatever, where we'll have 5 or 6 of us doing the college football stuff, and the other 3 to 4 people just purposefully kind of pin Bo and I against each other, and then the whole show just turns into one big screaming match about Ole Miss and Ohio State and just stuff to the point where we just have to end the show. Like we're just like, all right, you know what? These two are just going to yell at each other for the next 90 minutes.
Those are always fun because obviously like the SEC stuff and all that. And you always, you especially, how to really like dig into somebody and then really like turn them up.
Even
whenever you mention like, oh, Ohio State, well, their schedule or whatever is regarding the Big Ten or Michigan.
There was a time there where I referred to Ohio State as a 9-3 SEC team, and Jeff and Mo just
yeah, you've done that.
but yeah, just a lot of that. Just because we, for the longest time, it was like, well, if we had Ohio State schedule, which now it's crazy just because of how things have worked out. I pretty much joined the network right when Lane got hired, and so ever since then, it's just been like consistently creeping closer and closer to that elite status, and it's almost like the meme of the guy who like kills everything behind the doors, and I'm just just getting closer and closer to the Ohio State door. Like as we go, like I'm getting closer and closer to the Ohio State door. We're finally like, this may be the year. Like we may pull them in a 12-team playoff, and going into that, there will be no pressure for me. Like it'll be, if you lose to Ohio State, whatever, you lost to Ohio State, you weren't supposed to win anyway. But if we win that game, it's over at that point. It's done. Everything's over. You will never be able to say anything to me ever again, especially given that there are Ole Miss's best player from last year now plays for Ohio State. So it would just be wraps. It would be over at that point. And for the first time ever, like going into a season, maybe that's what it was. I just needed to poke the elites and just poke the Ohio States of the world. And here we are. And like, it's kind of funny now looking at it, like Fieldstormers will be crazy because there's nobody like, it's just a weird state of college sports, but Ohio State doesn't want to play anybody in the playoffs more than they want to play Ole Miss. And Ole Miss doesn't want to play anybody more than they want to play Ohio State. Like, as weird as that is, like, and that's just beyond me and Mo. Like, it's just like those two with the whole Judkins thing. Like, everybody is just like, you know what? Let's line this thing up. Let's play. Like, let's play. And it'll just be fascinating as we kind of move forward to kind of see. Because, like, the later we get in the season and the more real it gets, the more tense those podcast episodes are going to get. Like,
you too, yeah. 100%.
Yeah, it's gonna get bad. I mean, it'll just be interesting to see. But I mean, as long as Michigan just handles business again this year, then we probably won't play each other. So it'll be fine. But it'll be interesting. There's no doubt.
Yeah, those shows are going to be intense, especially because there could be a good possibility with the way expanded playoffs are now that you guys can match up.
I know why the NBA did the playoff game at 7 tonight. They should have played this thing at like 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Honestly, I just assumed that it was like a 3:30 tip off.
It was gonna be 3:30, 2:30, something like that. And then I just looked and they don't even play till 7.
It's silly to do on like the day, like this is the day where most people are together.
Well, like in last week, I think no bad memories, but like Pacers Knicks was at 2:30, I think. Or 3:30.
Game 7, right? Yeah, game 7, right?
It's been 1 week, yeah. It's been 1 week. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. Are they going to re-sign OG, or is that not going to happen? Like,
if you were to tell me during the regular season, I would say 100% they're going to re-sign him. I still believe they will, but it's not as concrete as I thought it would. As I thought it was just a few weeks ago. So I'm not 100% sure they will.
It just seems like he wants to look around. Like it seems like he's kind of like, nah, you know what? I'm gonna go see what's out there. Like I had a good year. I'm gonna go see what's out there.
And I think that's what he's gonna do. Yeah, I think they're the front runners, but I also think he's going to test the waters. And
I really think someone like San Antonio, like, or just someone like that's not very good, that has a bunch of money, is gonna like throw a bag at him and just be like, come play. Like,
just come here and just like, let's start like winning now.
Yeah, just like lift our floor, like make us better. Like is like, nobody will care about the contract if you're coming off the bench in 3 years and we're winning 65 games. Nobody will care, or 60 games. Nobody will care. Like, but raise the floor now, because like that's the whole argument with the Garland thing, right? Is like it's not really about like him raising your ceiling. It's more about like he's going to come in and probably make you 10 wins better, just not because he's 10 wins better, but because your starting lineup gets better, and then Trey Jones makes your bench infinitely better because he's running your bench instead of Blake Wesley. Like, it's one of those types of deals. And so like that's the big thing there, where like I think OG is like one of those guys maybe where he goes somewhere and like just raises the floor, where like you look at like a team next year of like, Garland, Vassell, Anunoby, Sohan, and Wembanyama probably wins 40 games. Like, I mean, they're probably just a decent little group. Like, not good.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
Especially if Victor, because it's all predicated on if Victor levels up, which he probably will. Your ceiling, like their floor is what it is. Is your floor could be 42 wins, and your ceiling could be 50. Like Victor is that good, So like if you just surround him with, if you were to get a Garland and then you get an OG, that could put you in top 6 contention. Like
it's just going to be interesting. With
not even a crazy idea. Like I think that could be because Victor's he could be that good. Like he was good. He was this good as a rookie. Like just imagine with another year and a better point guard and a wing that can score and help him defend. Like so he's not having to, try to block everything and all. Like it's going to make your defense a top half, or even better defense, and the scoring is going to be better. And you're going to put Victor in better positions on the offensive side. He doesn't have to do everything because Garland. We know when Garland before he got Mitchell, you know what he could do. He was an all-star. So it's like, hey man, like this. Yeah, our floor is better, but our ceiling actually we can be really freaking good because we really got our superstar.
It'll be interesting to see, like, because the 25 class is so loaded and they have 4 picks in that draft.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how much they want to mortgage going into 24, knowing, like, hey, I think they have the Bulls pick. I think they've got 3 picks now. They've got the Bulls pick, they've got the Hawks pick, and they've got their own. And so it'll be interesting to see how much they want to mortgage going into 24 to get substantially better, knowing what you know about the 25 class, or even if you finish 7th in the lottery, that's going to be an incredible player probably. Like
you can still get an all-star at 7.
Yeah, like you could take Nolan Traore at 7 theoretically, and like you could be set there, or you could take like VJ Edgecombe at 7 there and be like,
yeah. Like, exactly. That's why like next year is where everyone's trying to, put their.
That's why I want. And the other thing too is when you have so much powder in that draft, where like even like then you give yourself the opportunity to move up, even if it's just a few spots. If you're like, hey, we'll give you 7, 11, and 14, they can move up to 3. Like, people are probably gonna be like, okay, like 3 rookies out of this class, just so they can come get 1. Like, all right, sure. Like, that's why I just wonder like how much they want. I don't think they want to devalue their own pick next year. Like, I think they kind of want to just see. But the problem is they're going to be too good regardless. Like, they would have won like 32 to 35 games if they had not just wasted the first 2 months of the season playing Sochan at point guard. Like, they would have won 32 to 35 games if that cost them, because they were like, they were like 2-25 or something at one point, and then they made the switch, and they still ended up winning 15 to 20, like 15 more games, 17 more games, or something like that. Like they ended up being kind of competent the last half of the season. Like they weren't good, but they were playing more like a 35.
They were a lot better. Yeah, they're a lot better than that.
Were way better than the teams that they picked that they're picking around. Like they were way better than Detroit and Washington at that point. They were way better than
a lot better. Yeah.
Like, they were way better. They were way closer to like not Atlanta, but maybe kind of more in that fringy area, like Chicago. Like they were closer to those types of teams than they were to like being really bad. And so that's why I wonder, like, knowing that, how much do they want to get better? Because like honestly, man, like with Victor, there's no telling. All it takes is kind of a hot stretch, and then all of a sudden you're not in the lottery anymore. Like you're in the, you're kind of not in it anymore. And at that point, you're like, damn, well, did we really just mortgage the chips for purgatory? Because the West is so loaded, man. When you go for it, you have to know that you have a shot. Like you can't just be like, we're going to add all these. That's why the Houston thing didn't make sense to me. Like, and like, yeah, like their players are getting better. They've got a good coach. And like, but that one, they will never have enough. Never. They will never have enough. Like they're in purgatory. Like even if Jalen stays leveled up, and Sengun takes another level up, and Jabari takes another step, like you're still never going to be good enough. Like because Fred and Dylan aren't getting better anymore. They're done. Like they've capped.
And also 3 guys leveling up at the same time that you took.
It's so rare.
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So
you're talking about like pie in the sky, like literally like as ideal as you can get. And even if it goes as ideal as it could possibly go, you're still not going to be good enough. Like same with Sacramento. Like as good as it can go, it will never be good enough. There's so many teams that are like that in the West, and like you just don't want to become the next version of that, especially not with someone like Victor. But
that's the difference between The difference between you guys and those tapes like that is that you have a guy that is already a top 10 player, right? I believe he's already a top 10 player and with potential to be the best player in the NBA, where those teams, Sacramento, they don't have a guy who could be the best player or maybe even a top 10 player. Houston doesn't have any of those guys who can be top 10 players right now or even top 20 players, where you guys have a guy who can legit be an MVP next year. Like, if that's not even great, he could legit win the MVP next year. So
if they win 40 games next year, he's going to have a case, because that would mean he averaged like 7, 13, and like 4 blocks. Like, and KG said
league in blocks this year as a rookie.
That's what, and like KG said it on his podcast the other day. Like, if he had not been a rookie, he would have won Depoy this year. Like,
he got discredited for defensive player simply because he was a rookie.
And also just because their team was so bad. Like, and so like that was part of it too. Like, and so I don't know, man. Like, we'll see. I'll be really interested to see what their offseason, because like the crazy thing about them too, and you know this, you've covered the league and seen a lot. Nobody there is saying anything, and everything that comes out of there is conflicting. So nobody has any idea what they're thinking. And so that's going to be what's interesting. Like, I'd be kind of shocked if they made 2 picks. Like, to me, I don't think they will.
Not in this year. Not this year. You're not making 2 picks.
But then the question is, like, well, if those picks, and really they have 4 picks if you include the 2 second rounders, like, there's no way they're adding, unless you're ready to quit on some of these other guys you drafted, like Branham, Wesley, like, but you know, like, people keep forgetting, and he had an incredible year in the G League, and like, he kind of at the end of the year, he looked like he was going to belong. Like City Sissoko is getting a roster spot next year. You know, Don Barlow didn't even have a guaranteed roster spot at the beginning of the year. Like, and so like those guys like that who played at the end of the year that looked like they belonged in the NBA, like, those guys are going to be, those guys are coming for roster spots. So if you're going to take 4 rookies in the draft, then you have to move off some guys. Like, the one that I can guarantee you will not be on the roster next year, Keldon Johnson. Like, no shot. He will not be on the roster next year. There's no fit, because, like, you know, if you draft a wing, then you're obviously going to give that guy an opportunity to play. Like, City's a wing. Like, he's kind of a point forward kind of type deal. And Julian Champagny had an awesome year last year, like, relative to what he is. So, like, that's
another guy that it's not on. He's not on my team, but I root for crazy.
He literally had one of the, like, for what his contract is, and people always trip because he was in the starting lineup. I was like, dude, or I would be telling people, like, he's making $3 million a year. And
he got a Deuce McBride contract.
I know, and he's giving you like double-digit points a night, and is like legitly defending people. Like, as a starting 3 in the NBA, and you're paying him $3 million a year. Imagine how much better it would be if you draft a wing and put him on the bench and take some pressure off of him, and then you have another point guard come in and he gets to play with Trey Jones against other teams' second units. Like, imagine how much better you're going to be for that. Like, because you're going to have Trey and Julian, whose only experience in the league right now is having to play against other superstars and against starting lineups. And now you're telling them they get to go, like, feast on second units of other teams. Like, they're going to be better players for that. And so, like, I don't think
I'll definitely have you on like a draft show and talk more Spurs. But just what do you think the game plan is with these picks? Or do you think they're targeting anyone, or they're just going to let the board just fall to them?
I do think the most likely, if there's a trade, like the Garland thing makes like actually like, and now like it's kind of picking up in media like more than fans, and you're kind of like, okay, I think
now does it make sense if it's Donovan Mitchell staying with Put, or is this just like? I think
if Garland gets moved, it's because Mitchell stayed. And like,
obviously, I think that's the only way it happens if we know Mitchell stays.
If Mitchell signs the 4 for $208, I think Garland's going to want out. And like at that point, like, are the Cavs turning down Keldon Johnson, pick number 8, and like maybe another future first and like 29 for Darius Garland? Like, fuck no, they're going to take that and run, because Garland hasn't.
4? What if it's 4? They got to give a 4.
I think they're going to try their hardest to give.
Obviously, you go for 8. You're going to try for 8, obviously.
But again, with the conversation we had about wings, I'd be fine moving 4 too, because we've talked about Holland, we've talked about Buzelis, we've talked about Devin Carter, we've talked about those guys, Cody Williams, basically all probably going to be available at 8. if you trade for Garland, you're not taking a guy like Rob Dillingham anymore. Your point guard room is set. Like, you've got Garland, you've got Trey Jones, and if you need a third, Blake Wesley can be your third and be the 14th guy on the roster. That's fine. And in a pinch, Malachi Branham can give you some stuff because he did some good stuff in that role last year. Like, so you've got 5 dudes who are capable of lead ball handler type stuff. So at that point, you're drafting a wing, and you're coming out with whichever one of the wings is your favorite at 8, and then you're kind of rocking with it. And if that doesn't work out, then you maybe reevaluate that next year and kind of look like, all right, well, Risacker, or not Risacker, but Buzelis or whoever had a bad year. Well, now we've got 3 picks in the top 10 again, so it's time to upgrade. Or if Sohan doesn't kind of take a step forward where maybe he ends up kind of on the bench, like a lot of people think Sohan's going to be Aaron Gordon, but the thing people forget about Aaron Gordon is how explosive of an athlete he is. And Sohan's not that. Like, he's not as explosive as Aaron Gordon is ever, and never will be. He'll never be the lob threat on the dunker spot that Aaron Gordon is. He'll never give you those types of things. And so those are the 2 spots down the road that'll be the 3 and the 4 that'll be kind of like on the line or whatever. It'll just be interesting to see but I think this year they're going to at least try, I think in an ideal world, and this is why I don't think anything's going to happen until draft night. Because if Risacker somehow, and again, we've said we don't think it's going to happen, but if he somehow makes it to 4, I think they would part with more draft capital to get Garland if it meant 8, if they got to get Risacker at 4. If Risacker's not available at 4 and you're basically just like, hey, you're taking Dillingham or you're reaching for one of the wings, then I think they'd be like, all right, whatever. Let's trade 4. That's fine. But I think right now they're under the impression that they have a shot at Risacker, and I think they want that. I think Wemby wants that. And so
I think I'm really starting to believe that he's going to go number 1 now. I really believe.
I still think they're going to take Sarr, but the problem is, man, and this is where the DeJounte trade really put him in jail is, you're not going to be able to take any wings next year. And Onyeka's fine. He's not ideal, but he's fine. He's good. And the problem with taking Sarr is just your wings are already kind of nearing 30. As crazy as it is, Bogey's over 30 years old now. And so you have to replace him with somebody. And DeAndre Hunter's not the guy. That's kind of shown or whatever. So if you're going to take a wing and try to solidify that spot, now would kind of be the time to do it. Even if it doesn't make sense. And then, for the Wizards have basically announced to the world, whichever one doesn't get taken, that's who we're taking.
Yeah. So that's why I'm for you guys, even if he doesn't go 1, he's not going past 2. The Wizards are taking one of those 2 guys for sure.
Yeah. And so, and then the draft basically starts at 3 with Houston because there's no telling what they're going to do.
I think they're trading back.
Yeah. I know a lot of and the other one too is we'll see. If they make the pick, I won't be surprised if they pick Reed Shepherd.
I think it's Reed if they do keep the pick because, he's a connector. He can shoot. He can play defense. That's kind of what they need right now if they can get that type of shooter and all that. But, I think they're going to try to trade down for sure. But if they have to stay put.
He'd help him in so much, too, just because he's going to shoot so efficiently that he's going to create space, which is going to do nothing but help a young point guard trying to develop. So I think it's Reed but that's when you get to the weird stuff, man. It's how do the Spurs evaluate Dillingham? How do they feel about that? Is Pop going to let him rock out the way that you need him to rock out in order to is he going to live with some of the bad to get all the good? And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how they evaluate Dillingham. They've said they love Stephon Castle. That's pretty well known too. They love Castle. And he's literally Castle. I don't really care what people say. Castle is steering himself to San Antonio. That's where he wants to go. That's what a lot of these prospects are doing that. Dillingham is pretty much gotten on stage and twerked for the Spurs. That's what he's trying to do. That's what Castle wants to do. Castle wants to go play for the Spurs.
If you're a point guard right now, if you're a point guard in this draft, you have to be trying to find any way to get to San Antonio. Why wouldn't you? First of all, you can play. You're going to be able to play because it's essentially an open spot, right? And you have Victor Wembanyama, who's going to make your life so much. So if you're Stephon Castle, you're Topic, you're Dillingham, you're I want to go to San Antonio. And it's crazy to think, but think about this, Walker. When does that happen where you like guys are willingly wanting to go to San Antonio?
You know what's crazy is like, man, it's free agent. It's not even free agents. It's literally players on other rosters that are like, yeah, I'd throw the ball to him.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that guy's gonna make my life so much easier than trying to give it to the 6'6" guy or whatever. Like, he's gonna make life, and he's getting better. He showed his progression throughout the season. Like wow, he put add that to
that last game against Denver, like that 3-minute stretch, was like the epitome of like, okay, when he's playing at his very best in a few years or whatever, that may be what it looks like. With 17 points in 3 minutes against the defending NBA champions, being guarded by what was eventually a 3-time MVP.
3-time, yeah. But like, think about the possibility of like, let's say you throw money at OG. Let's say there's a word. You throw money at OG. You draft Stephon Castle at 4, and you got Victor Wembanyama. I mentioned before, you could be a top half of the league type of defense. You might be top 10. Yeah, maybe top 5 with that. So like, it's crazy. Like, and if I did a mock draft on my new podcast.
Your worst team defender would be Devin Vassell, who's like an average defender.
Who came into the NBA as being known as a defender at FSU. You know, so it's like you have potential. And like I did a mock draft with Corbin Ford on our new podcast, and I mocked Stephen Castle and to San Antonio. I was like, the upside. First of all, he has, besides Ricochet and Sarr. To me, Stephen Castle has the highest upside in this draft and all that. And I was like,
he reminds me
adding a wing defender like him, even if the shot doesn't come around right away, he's going to defend right away. You add him with Victor, he's going to make Victor's life even more easier.
To me, he reminds me so much of Drew, man. He reminds me so much of Drew Holiday. Like, so much of Drew coming out of UCLA was a lot of the same thing. Like, and Drew, like, early on shot like 30% from 3. Like, he really didn't make shots early. But then it kind of came around. He worked at it. And if you feel comfortable that he's going to work at it, which coming out of UConn from a culture standpoint, like, you don't really play there unless you're willing to do that. And so, like, my thing is,
he showed that he's willing to work. Because for a 5-star freshman in that type of environment, usually they're on the bench or they're going in transport right now. He made it work, and he played his role perfect.
Yeah, and so, like, my thing is, like, if he's willing to work at the shot, and the guy they hired from OTE has been really, really good with jump shots. Barron, whatever his name was. Last name was Barron. Not Tyler Barron. He's going to Miami. But I don't remember. But like, if the shooting coach does a good job and you can develop that jump shot, even if he shoots 36% at his peak, that player is awesome. Like, that player is really good because of all the other stuff he does. Yeah, I mean, you'd be really, really good. That's why I'm kind of at, like, I kind of signed off on the Castle thing months ago, and then as we've gotten further and further into the process, I've kind of just realized that nothing's going to make me feel like really excited. There's not just one guy I'm really, really rooting for, but like, because I like Devin Carter too, because I think Devin Carter's like, you know, Derek White, Josh Hart, and like that would be cool too, because like the Spurs would have been so much better with Derek White this year. Like, that would have been awesome. So I mean, like, that's kind of where I'm at, but we'll see. If they make 2 picks, I feel like they're going to take, because like they always talk about too, and I hate it because it's become a buzzword, but they talk about positionless basketball so much down there. And like, so part of me thinks like that reeks of like, hey, we want our guards to have size. Like, we want our guards to have size and be able to guard and be physical. And so to me, that's not Rob Dillingham. Like, to me, that's not who he is. He's not positionless. If he gets caught in switches in the NBA, he's food. Like, he's literally going to be food. Yeah. So to me, with what the Spurs have talked about and their identities, Rob Dillingham is not what they've talked about. And like, and when I say talked about, I'm talking about years running, because that was the big thing when Sohan started the one, was, you know, that was what they were trying to do. That's what they were trying to achieve, was this super switchable 5 that could all play defense and they could all do a lot of different things. And now I think they recognize, hey, lead guard is a skill set, but there are now lead guards in the league that like have that size and stuff. We're just going to have to draft one. Like, we're going to have to draft someone with that skill set that has size. And the only way to do that is to pick in the top 5, because those guys are always going to go high. And so I think Topic is a candidate. I think that'd make some sense. Like, I'm sure Wembanyama's familiar with him too, having played in Europe. I think, and honestly, man, like not to really dive off because you could do a whole podcast on this. I'd be fine taking someone out of the European grassroots more than I would out of the American grassroots right now. Like so many of those European guys come over with so much skill now that like I'll take my chances on that. Like I know that like that's definitely not we're doing a podcast in America. That's not what a lot of people want to hear. But like
No, I'm with you.
Yeah, and so like Topic, I'll take my chance because Topic, man, is a lot of the same conversation as Castle. It's can he just consistently make those jump shots? And he's probably a better passer than Castle is. Like as far as like creating advantages for people, he's probably just not as good on defense as Castle is going to be. Because Castle could be like a legit like all defense type defender, like at his peak. And so that's what you trade off a little bit. But again, you can make that trade when you have Victor Wembanyama and like Jeremy Sohan. Like you can make a little bit of that trade, and he's got enough size where if you get him in there, and we talk about heat culture, but like I mean, if you get him in that building and like a lot of that culture in San Antonio, like he's gonna try on defense. He may not be good, but he may not be awesome at defense, but he's going to get to passable because they're going to make him get to passable before he's allowed to play. And so, you know, I think Topic is a guy that is interesting. Like, but you know, his thing is he stays so hurt all the time. But
that's the one thing that people are worried about.
And so, yeah, like, but again, like he's the type of guy. God, you talk about making life easier. Imagine how much easier Nikola Topic would make Victor Wembanyama's life. Like on the flip side, because he can actually see the floor and sees things before they happen and stuff like that. Like as much as Wemby would make his life easier, Topic would make Wemby's life that much easier too. And so that means the worst point guard that Wemby would ever play with would be Trey Jones, which is a good thing. Like that's a good roster spot to be in. So I don't know. It'll be really interesting. Like I don't have a vibe at all for what they're gonna do. I think they're gonna make a trade. But again, you can't rule it out. I think they're gonna, for sure, if nothing else, they may make both the picks in the first, and then just like, and then just trade the seconds and do another year or something like that, like just one of those types of deals or whatever, and do something else. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Grizzlies came up to 3 and got Klingon. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, that's been something I've hearing a lot about, but we're definitely going to dive into more on that and all that. But I appreciate you coming on the show, bro. It's always, like I said, always a pleasure talking to you. And like I said, we're probably going to talk about basketball for the next 2 hours. So we could just save it for that and all that. But I appreciate everyone who was able to come on to episode 200. Appreciate everyone who sent me, nice messages and all that. Appreciate everyone who's been a part of the podcast throughout these 200 episodes and all that. And hopefully we can get to another 200 episodes and continue to grow the podcast and all that. But on that note, be well, be safe, take care. Thank you, everyone, for episode 200 of the Off the Ball podcast.